Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. Hi, and a warm welcome into the LightWeb podcast with me, Joanna Hunter. And today I am joined by the fabulous Lisa Johnson. And I'm so excited to introduce you to her. So come and say hi, Lisa, and tell people what it is that you do in the world and what you're up to.
Hi, thank you for having me. So what do I do in the world? Well, I'm a mum of twins. I love to travel as well. And the thing that I help people with is making passive and semi-passive income streams from things like courses, memberships, ebooks, anything where you're not really trading time for money all the time. And I started this business about 4 years ago. And yeah, it's grown really well and lots of amazing things are happening. So it's been really fun.
Amazing. So tell us about literally what made you get into this, because obviously mum of twins. I had no idea that you were a mum of twins. That is double trouble in there. How old are your twins now?
They're 9 now.
They're 9, right? So they were like right in the middle of how long you've had them. You decided to start this business. What was it for you? What was the kind of point that you said, right, okay, let's do this?
Yeah, well, so I had a business before this. I was working corporate for years, in banking. I was a PA, I was a risk analyst. I did all these different things. And then the twins were born and I was going through divorce in their first sort of few months. And so there's me with these twins thinking, I'm going to have to go back to work when they're 5 months old. And I did. I went back to work and realized very quickly there was no way that was going to happen because I never saw them. Like I worked in the city in Canary Wharf. It was like I left at 6 o'clock in the morning. I came back sometimes at 9 p.m. I just never saw them. And so I knew I was going to have to make a change. And so the thing that I thought I would do is go and get any job nearer my home so that I could at least see them in the morning and in the evening and just get a normal 9 to 5 kind of job. The only jobs going around where I lived were PA jobs. So I went right back down to being a PA, which was my first job that I'd ever had. And that obviously came with it quite a loss of salary. And so I was like struggling to make ends meet, but at least I got to see them. And it was in that job that I got bored. And so, I was playing on the internet all day and you have to just stay in your seat till 5 o'clock and till it's the end of the working day, even if you don't have anything to do. And so I started looking at, maybe I could have a business, but I didn't know anybody that had businesses. I come from a council estate background, no one I know had a business, but I thought, well, I could try. And so I started a wedding planning business and played around with that for a year, got 13 full planning weddings. So that was good, but realized at the end of that year, I got a new boyfriend. He said, let's sit down and see if you can leave your 9 to 5 job and spend the time with your kids. And I was making £1.15 an hour. So there was no way I was ever going to leave because I just didn't know anything about business. So I thought, I'm at a crossroads here. I'm in a lot of debt. We're talking over 30,000 by this point. I need to either forget these pipe dreams of having a business and just be happy living hand to mouth like all of my ancestors did. It's always been generational poverty with me. And so I'll just, live like that and know that I'll always be in debt. Or I need to learn properly about business and put some grit into it. If you're already 30,000 in debt, what's another 5 grand? So I put it on a credit card, got a course learning about the basics of business, and then turned that wedding business around. So within about 8 months of me really changing things and working on my ideal client and all of those kind of things, we started making the business profitable. And within a year, we'd made 100,000. And so then people were saying, how have you done this? And so gradually over the next kind of 2 to 3 years, carried on in the wedding business, still not making tons of money, but enough that I was paying off a little bit of the debt while bringing up the twins.
Can I just stop you there just for a second? Because do you know what I want to zero in on? you were 30,000 in debt and you spent 5K, right? Yeah. But what I want to highlight to anybody that's listening to this, right, is the investment is so important, because that 5K made you 100K profit, right? Yeah. Like that's freaking phenomenal. But your mind had to be in the right place to make that investment. It wasn't like, let's just throw money at the problem. It was like, not only were you all in on the money side of that investment, but it looks like you were all in, like, I'm gonna have my little nose pressed to that computer and study my butt off and really, really study. And that's what paid the dividends. Because I think so many people in our world, in the coaching world, like they think, oh, I'll just get this course, I'll just get this thing, but it's so much more. Like they have to be all in, dedicated in the, like, I have to be in here, you know.
In your head, you have to really say to yourself, this is non-negotiable. I couldn't afford to lose that money. It was non-negotiable. If everything failed, I was still going to try. If everything didn't work, I was going to carry on until it did.
Like you were full in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that piece of your story, because I think, you know, like I see some people, you know, obviously we see different people in our worlds and things like that. Some people make the investment and they make their money back because they're so all in. Other people make the investment and then they're kind of like, well, I paid the money. And it's like, no, but you got to be all in, right? Like, you got to show up for the thing, right? Like, it's not greatness by osmosis. It's greatness by doing the thing.
One of my phrases is, I'm not a magic fairy. It doesn't matter how much money you give me. It's not going to magically make you money. You're going to have to go and sit down and put all of the work in. Yes. I'm not going to be putting the work in. You are.
I love that. I am a magic fairy, but you're still going to have to put the work in.
Love that.
But yes, so sorry for interrupting you there, but I just thought it was such a juicy point, because I think investment is like, for me, where I am today in my business, like investment, but it has not just been the money putting in. It's been putting in the effort, and every course that I bought that I put in the effort has worked.
Yeah.
If you put courses where I didn't put in the effort,
it won't work.
I might as well. I just had myself a barbecue with the money that I spent on it, you know?
Definitely. But I realized quite quickly in that wedding business that if you would have told me, what do you want your life to look like? I would have said, I want to travel around the world with my twins and show them everything that I didn't have. And had built myself a business where that was not possible, because I was working every single weekend throughout the entire summer. And so I started to think, what business model would I like? What would I like to do? And people had been constantly asking me for help with their businesses because they'd seen my wedding business, you know, take off.
Yeah.
And so organically, I started kind of helping people with their businesses. I wouldn't say I'm a coach. I wouldn't say I was a coach then, because I think a coach helps people find the answers. I was just like, do this, this, and this, and then this will happen. And they were doing it.
A mentor.
Yeah, more like a mentor or a strategist. And so very quickly, I realized that actually I could make money doing that rather than the wedding business and have a bit more freedom. So I started LisaJohnsoncom 4 years ago. And this time I understood those basics of business about ideal client, money mindset, how to have a marketing plan, you know, all the strategy stuff. And so very quickly, within the first 6 months, we'd made 100K in profit. Within the first year, we'd made 220,000. I say we, at then it was just me. But that first year, everybody said, oh, you're so successful, you know, you're on stages, you're doing all these things, you're making this money. And I felt like the least successful person in the world, because I was working again from 5 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night on my business, one-to-one clients, and not seeing my kids, and thinking, what have I done? Like, I've got all this money, never gonna have any time to spend it. I still can't see my kids, and the time with my kids means more to me than the money. And so what do I do? And then I heard someone talking on a podcast like this one about passive income, and they were arguing whether it exists. And so I was like, oh, I love anything where anyone's like debating anything. So I started listening. And I went down this rabbit hole of passive income, and I thought, this is the business model that I need to do. This is how I can make this freedom lifestyle work. And in the space of probably around 8 months, I spent around £150,000 learning from all of the best courses and mentors that I could find to do with anything to do with passive income, drop shipping, affiliate marketing, courses, everything. And then started slowly introducing these different passive income streams into my business. Some of the stuff I got taught worked, some I refined and made it better. Some didn't work at all, but I was experimenting. And then at the end of the second year, so at the end of that first year, we were making 220,000, but I was probably working 80 hours a week, if we're honest about it. At the end of the second year, after I'd done this, I was working 30 hours a month and I was making over £1 million. And it showed me that this is the way. And then people started asking me, how are you always on holiday when we know you're making over £1 million? I was like, because I've learned how to do passive income. And they were like, can you teach us? I was like, well, I could try. So I started teaching other people how to do courses, memberships, and that kind of thing. And they started making, some of my clients are millionaires now. And so I realized that that's what I was best at, like just making kind of hard concepts easy and step by step and just telling people what to do. And so that's brought us to now, 4 years later, from when I started, we're now on track for a £5 million year. Like last year, we made 3 million. And it's just, I think there is a bit of right company, right time. I was banging on about passive income for a long period of time, and people were like, yeah, at some point I'm going to do that. That's a really good idea to diversify at some point. And then COVID hit. And then everyone went, whoa, I need to do that because my business no longer exists. I need to come online. I need to make money from something else. And so I was lucky that I happened to be selling that product.
I feel as well like being in the online world while COVID hit has had such a positive income, impact on me and my family as well. Suddenly people were like, I need to retrain, or I need to give this, people had been in my audience maybe for many years watching and going, oh, what am I need to have a look at that, and I need to do this and stuff. And suddenly they became buyers, they became serious. It wasn't just a pipe dream anymore. I think it was just like, it was what I call the do or die energy, and that was the same energy that you had when you paid that $5,000, and it was the do or die energy, and sometimes we need to be backed into that corner to take the freaking action.
It's definitely a leap, isn't there, that at some point make a leap, and it's a risk. But actually the biggest entrepreneurs on the planet, the thing they all have in common is that they're willing to take a big risk. And I always knew that in the back of my head. So every time, and I make risks all the time now, I'm very used to making risks, and so it doesn't feel quite as scary. But I absolutely know that if I'm feeling comfortable, so like in the last 6 months, I've been feeling pretty comfortable. We did a 2.5 million launch. And a few months before that, we did a 1.7 million launch. And I was like, I feel like we can do this now and we understand how it works, but I'm feeling too comfortable. What can I do to make myself feel uncomfortable? Because when I'm uncomfortable, I know that's when I'm growing. I know that's when exciting things happen. When I'm just kind of doing the day-to-day, that doesn't test me enough anymore.
I love that. And we talk a lot about that inside the $1 Million Experiment. We talk a lot about discomfort. We talk a lot about leaving the comfort zone. And I think, this is what's so powerful and potent, because what's inside your comfort zone is what you got.
Yeah.
There's nothing stretching you there.
No.
You gotta walk with the discomfort of I always call it palms sweating, knees knocking, like that energy of just, ugh.
Yeah.
But if you're in that energy, you're also in the energy where miracles live. Yeah.
And I think that for me, that I knew what I needed to do. When you know what you need to do, but you're scared of doing it. And with me, that for me was an integrity thing. So in the first year of my business, some horrible things happened to me. I was being bullied online. I was bullied as a child. So when I got bullied online by other coaches, you can imagine what that did. It triggers all of the stuff from when you were younger. It was awful. And so I hid and then said, well, I don't want to be in this industry. There's a lot of stuff in this industry, the online industry, I don't like, if I'm honest about it. There's a lot that feels sleazy to me, that doesn't feel in integrity. And then a mentor of mine said to me, you can moan about it as much as you like, or you can change it, but you will only change it from the inside, and you will only change it when you've made more than all the people doing the things that are not in integrity. Only then will people listen to you. So in my head, my scary goal was, I'm going to change things when I get to a certain level. And so when we did the first launch, I said, we're going to do this differently. And I got all these affiliates on board, and they said, we're not going to do this like you've done any launch before. We're not going to do any pushy selling. We're going to turn people away if they're putting this on a credit card. We're going to turn people away if they look like they can't afford. You know, if they say to you, I'm really struggling to afford to pay for my kids to eat at the moment, we're not taking that money. And we're going to turn them away. If they come to us and we know there's someone better out there for them, and there were over 100 people that came in that we knew there was a better coach for them out there, we're going to send them to that other coach, and we're not going to take them on. We're not going to do any kind of scarcity tactics. When, you know, none of the kind of stuff that you see online.
To my ears.
And we did it. And we said, if we can do this and show that it can be done in a really ethical way, we'll have a ripple effect. And so we've done it twice now in a really ethical way and still made a ton of money. And so now we can see that ripple effect. I'm in groups where people say, oh no, I just turned somebody away because I didn't think we were necessarily the best people for them. And when I ask them, oh, I love that you did that, who's your coach? It's someone that I've coached. And I can see the ripple effect happening, and it makes me so happy. But that was my uncomfortable thing, because I knew that if I was going to call out some of this behavior, it was not going to make me a popular person with my peers. And thought, does that matter? Is the purpose that I have, which is to change this industry for the better, higher than a load of people not really liking me very much? And it is. And so that's what I'm doing every day. And that makes me uncomfortable.
I love that. And this is another highlight, is that what we do is so much bigger than us, you know? And I talk a lot about integrity. It's very important to me because I feel that so many people are out of integrity, you know, and I think that is also a leading cause of burnout, is that not only are we doing too many hours and we're pushing, but we're also pushing in the sales tactics and things. And, you know, the conversations that I want to have with people is about, what are your aspirations? What are your dreams? As opposed to, if you don't buy this, you will die horribly, you know. And it's like, it's so pressured, and it's such bullshit, because guess what? There's always going to be another course. There will always be another coach. There will always be more out there, you know. So if not this, then something else will come along and probably do the job, and sometimes even do the job better. So like, chill, trust the timing of your life, you know.
I think we see a lot, don't we, out there with like people making these claims like, do this course and you'll make 6 figures in 6 months, and do this and it will make you $1 million. Even the phrase, you're one funnel away from $1 million business, I can't stand any of that stuff, because the expectations that it puts on people, like people come to me and they say, yeah, I've been in business now for 3 months and I've not made 6 figures. I'm like, come on. Like, if you look at our parents, if they had a business, they would say if they broke even within 3 years, they'd be happy. Yeah, if we don't,
that was the gold standard. You were to be in debt for 3 years, and then that was the gold standard. I mean, both my parents were self-employed, so that was the gold standard. Like, you were expected to make a loss for 3 years, and if you broke even in year 3, my God, you were wrong.
Brilliantly. Yeah, and whereas now, if you haven't made money in 3 months in your business, something's wrong. You're not cut out for it. Maybe you have failed. And that's the fault of us, of all of us that are online, giving people an expectation that's not real. And so I think it's great if we can change that and change this ripple effect to telling people the truth and being more transparent and honest about what it actually took to get there. Like, people look at my life now and go, oh, but you have this great life where you're on the, you know, you're on beaches all the time and you're making all this money. That's because I have a team of 6 people. You know, that isn't because it's magic. It's, you know, I just think we need to be really, really transparent on things.
Yeah. And the other thing as well, while we're on pet peeves, the other pet peeve I have is that Facebook ads is some magic ATM where you put $5 in and it spits $25 out, you know, and like, you can do that all day, every day. And it's like, no. And I don't actually even use ads in my business. Like, I don't even use them.
I didn't use ads until we got to 7 figures. And now we use ads for list building, but we don't really use them for launches. I think we spent 15,000 on the 2.5 million launch. But, organic is definitely the way. Ads can only exacerbate what you're already doing right organically. So when people come in and use ads straight away, I can look at them and know it's not going to work. But
I also feel like it brings a very unaligned client in. It brings a very, like, do you know what I mean? Like like what I have found with the businesses that I've coached where they've been using ads consistently, they don't have the same brand loyalty that somebody who's built organically has. And people who build organically, I'm always delighted to see how teeny tiny their lists are and how much money they can take. Like when somebody has a list of 500 people on an email list and they can do $100,000, like for me, like that speaks to the integrity of that person.
Oh, right. We had a list when we did our 1.7 million launch. We had a list of less than 2,000 people. That's what it's about.
Exactly. That's what it's about, right? Like it's not, because we've all been led to believe like these ginormous lists is like, I don't know, the pathway to nirvana or something. And it's not, because
one way of proving that is I did an affiliate launch, and in my affiliate launch were people mainly who had done my course before, and they had less than 200 people, like 200-300 people on their list, because they'd only just started. And I also had 2 or 3 really big people with huge lists, probably like 50,000, 60,000. The people that had the tiny lists did better, made more money than the people that had the big lists. And the people with the big lists used ads and the others didn't. And so it really proved to us that this time when we did our affiliate launch, we didn't use any of the big names. We only used people that had done the course and who had these smaller lists. And because
I love that. Oh my God, that is just, and you know what, that is just exactly what I suspected, is that, and this has been a big thing that's been going on in Instagram, the influencer culture, when there was a girl that had something like 10 million and she couldn't sell like 5 t-shirts or something to her audience of 10 million.
Because it's not about growing an audience, is it? It's about growing a loyal audience. Because a loyal audience will buy from you over and over again. The reason my Forbes article went viral was my loyal audience. The reason we got #1 business podcast in the UK was my loyal audience. It wasn't that what I was doing was any better than the next person. It was because if you have a loyal audience, they fight your corner. They want to see you do well. It's not just about a transactional thing for them. They feel part of your team.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a mutual exchange, they feel like you've got their corner too. That's what I feel like. And that's what's so powerful and potent, is when we build our audiences organically, on recommendations, on people sharing our stuff, people, because what happens is it just brings in this really powerful audience that really have your back as much as you have theirs.
Yeah,
I love that. And I think it's a new way of doing business. And I think for a lot of, not to make this a masculine, feminine issue, but it kind of flies in the face of bro marketing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm all about, flying in the face of bro marketing. And I can't stand it. It's been the thing that I've been trying to change. Because bro marketing isn't just men. There are plenty of women out there using bro marketing.
Well, because I think, women learn a very masculine way of doing business, and then they literally practically sell their soul to do it, right? And then they wonder why they burn out, and they wonder why the work that they loved suddenly turns sour and they don't like it anymore, and they feel lost. And it has like so many emotional implications, and especially for women, because we're not able to detach our emotions quite in the same way as a more masculine energy can. And I think when a lot of women are in their masculine, it's not a good thing for us long term. Like we can do it now and again because we need to, because the chips are down. But long term, it's not a sustainable model for a woman.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be some balance in there. And I do think things are changing. I think that I look at the industry now and I see things being done in a different way. And I think that's not a bad thing. It's time for change, because otherwise this entire industry is going to implode if we let it carry on, because people have been burned. They don't feel completely secure buying into things anymore because of the things that they've seen, because of the things that have happened to them. And our audiences are really smart. They're really smart now. They've not, it's not 15 years ago. They're savvy as to what these techniques are that people use. And I think that's a good thing, because it's going to force a change.
I think so as well. And yeah, and I do see definitely a big shift in marketing and things like that. And I see a lot more, I think one of the things for me to run my business, and for me, it's very mission based as well, right? It's like to offer something different to what is already out there, to honor the spiritual side of ourselves, not just the the part that, the human that needs to make the money to live and all the things. It's like to honor also that we are a spiritual being and that we want to do things within alignment and integrity and all the things. And I think it's really important. But for me also as well, every time I see somebody that feels slightly out of alignment, that makes me go inside going like, then what I feel is it's like that is fuel for my fire to make sure that my work gets out, to make sure that the women that I support who do good work also gets out there, like that for me is like, it becomes like I got to make sure that, like if you imagine a little woman called Annie, right? Like Annie has got to be given a choice, because if Annie thinks that bro marketing's the only way to do this thing, she might end up with like a pile of broken dreams. But if I'm at least there, and if I'm at least a voice, so she knows that there is another alternative.
Absolutely, that's exactly what it's about. And the more of us that we can show this is a different way, then they will show others it is a different way, and that's where the ripple effect happens. We need more people like you doing that.
Yeah, I love it. So obviously you work with lots of different people, lots of different areas, and your specialty is passive income. You started your journey with passive income on a debate, hearing a debate. Is there such a thing as passive income? No. Obviously.
Of course not.
No.
We use the word passive. There's no such thing as passive income. And I wish that it was called leveraged income, because all you're really doing is you're leveraging your time. Unfortunately, now, if I start calling things leveraged income, no one will know what I'm talking about, because we seem to have adapted this word passive income to mean things like courses and affiliate marketing and memberships, or semi-passive income. But in reality, what passive income is just not trading time for money. And things become passive, but let's not believe in this myth that you do nothing and money rains down on you, because it's simply not true. You're going to put in such a lot of hard work at the beginning, and then it becomes passive. Then you can work 30 hours a month and make 3 million, but it won't be doing that at the beginning. You will be working your ass off.
I love that. That's so refreshing, because I think this passive income thing as well is another kind of fallacy.
Yeah.
And I think I was at a live event with Denise Duffield-Thomas, and she said this line that really stuck with me. She says, it's effortless, not effort none.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right. So there's even effortless, there's still an effort in there, but it's effortless. It's less effort, and it's not effort none. And that's what I see in passive income. That's what I see in leveraging your information that you have, creating courses. That's what I do with my courses, is that I can teach one-to-many, which leverages my time. And also as well, I also happen to think that a group experience is amazing, because the people in that container give so much as well to the experience, the overall experience. And I think one of the most important things as human beings is to know that we are not alone, right? Because so many of us think that when something is not going right in our life, or something is a bit like, we think we're the only one. And then when you're in that group situation, it's just, it's not just the teacher telling you, oh, you're fine, you're okay. They actually like, oh, what, you too, you feel that as well? Like, there's such a magic in that.
Yeah.
But it is effortless. as in, you know, then doing the trading hours for dollars model. But I think there will always be a part of me that will always coach because I love it so much, one-to-one. But I think I love that you're so honest that it is, you know, there is no such thing really, that there is more leveraged, and that's what and that is, and I don't know, I think maybe we should be calling it leveraged income. We need to like create a new
it
vocabulary
definitely
here.
needs a new name. I try and call it leveraged income as much as I can. And when people ask me to speak on stages, I say, oh, I can tell you how to like leverage your time. And they're like, oh, passive income. Like, okay. But yeah, it's just so known now. But I think it can be passive, but it can.
I think my books have been passive, you know, like once I made them and created them and put them out into the world. My first book, it's 6 years old now, and it's made me money every single month.
Yeah. Well, like with
really no marketing campaigns, no push, no nothing. It's literally made me money every single month for 6 years.
That's the way it becomes passive. So with I have a tripwire. So on my lead magnet, there's a tripwire. That's a little course I made maybe 3 years ago about creating communities. And it's really cheap, like £49 or something like that. But that £49 product that I don't deliver, it just DIY, you know, it's been made years ago. That makes me my entire ad spend every single month. So it's self-liquidating. That's where passive can really come in well. And it just means, you know, if I was to do something, so if somebody came to me now and said, oh, I want to do one-to-one, I don't do any one-to-one, but if someone came to me and said one-to-one, I could probably charge them for 10 hours work, I don't know, 20,000. You couldn't really do much more than 20 or 30,000. Whereas if I do a course, that's still 10 hours of my time, but that's going to make me 2.5 million. So it makes more sense to me to, you know, do things, especially once you've got an audience, to do things that do leverage your time, because you can impact more people as well as make more money. You can impact more people, and that's a big thing. So yeah, it's not, you know, this whole passive thing. And in every single webinar I ever do, I start with, can we just get rid of the fact that you think that you're going to be doing making a lot of money and you're not going to be doing any work, because that isn't true.
I think that's really important. I think, yeah, and it just comes back to what Denise said, you know, it's effort, it can be effortless, you know, and I have found that as my business is growing, it's becoming more and more effortless.
Yeah.
As it's growing, I put way more effort in the early days to get the momentum moving. But now that my business has natural momentum in it, it is more effortless. It is so very worth it. And also as well, knowing that I have created a platform in which I can talk about the things that are important to me and the things that are meaningful to me in my life and the things that I feel that should be meaningful to other people as well. I love, you know, that this world that we live in has given us this platforms like the social media and everything that we've got, and that, you know, women like us, we can create businesses where we can get to see our kids more. I think one of the things for creating a 7-figure business for me is about creating more choices in my life, but also as well giving me the resource to do something when I see an injustice or I see something I don't like in this world, and I know that I will have a resource to do something about it. I think that's the power of a coaching business.
Yeah, it's the opportunities as well, that, you know, it's never about just the money, but the money gives you so many opportunities to live a freedom lifestyle, but also to be able to like do things for the causes you care about. Like I'm an ambassador for Bullies Out, which is a charity that helps people who have been bullied. I would never have been able to do what I do with them had I not had a business making me a lot of money. Like, it's really important that we see money for what it is, which is something that can not just help us.
Yeah, I think this is a big thing. And, you know, and what I try and say to people, my community has an additional money block many of the time, because a lot of my community are spiritual. And so there's a lot of shame if you're spiritual to be making money off your spiritual gifts. A lot of shaming goes down in that circle. And which is what I'm stand for changing, and really changing that. And because I think that if you've already been called to help humanity because you are spiritual, like you with money, like it makes more sense than
You can do
some
more.
banker with money,
Yeah,
right? Who doesn't give a crap about anyone. Like, it makes more sense when you give a crap about people that you should have money and that you should have this powerful resource to do things. And look at what you do with this charity, Bullies Out, and we'll pop a link for them as well, so that if anybody is going through bullying or anything like that, that I think that's, you know, a beautiful resource that we can share from this podcast on that, because it's such an important topic. And you know, and I always talk when I don't talk a lot about bullying, but when I do talk about it, one of the things that I always like to highlight is that it is a killer.
It's a killer. Yeah,
it is a killer, and it takes lives. And I think this is something that's, you know, a lot of people dismiss bullying. You know, they dismiss it as, oh, well, it's just your feelings that are hurt. No, it actually takes lives.
It nearly took mine. You know, when I was 23 years old, I sat down to commit suicide because I was being bullied, and because I'd been bullied since I was 11, and I didn't see the point of living anymore. It was only this tiny voice that was like, what if everyone's wrong? What if you can make something of yourself? What if you can, you know, pick yourself back up? And that was the only thing that saved me. But I can totally see how it takes lives, and know many people through the charity work that I do that it has taken their life. And not just as children. We need to realize that there's an epidemic of bullying in adults too, because of social media.
The social media thing, and bullying is such an important topic, and maybe we might have you back and speak about that, because that's something I would really love to speak about on the Into the LightWeb podcast, because I think it's such an important topic, because it emboldens some people to be behind a keyboard.
It does.
And they will say things that they would never say.
Yeah.
The
more visible I get, especially in like the tabloid newspapers in the UK, the things that people say on there, and I've had a tiny bit of it compared to what celebrities have, and I think to myself, it's no wonder with Caroline Flack, with people like Jessie from Little Mix, who are saying that they don't even want to perform anymore because of the amount of trolling that they get online. I've had a tiny bit of that, and could only just deal with it. I can't even imagine what it must be like for young people now. You know, I'm in my 40s. I can deal with things differently.
Yeah.
But if I was, you know, having the same amount of bullying online that I did as a child offline, there's no way I'd be here.
Yeah. I mean, thank God I'm in my 40s. That's all I can say, because I just didn't have social media at school. I don't know how young people do it, because I just think, oh my God, like, school was pressured enough.
Yeah.
You know, and with all that crap that you do as well, like, does he like me? Does he not like me? Does he like me? Does she not like me? And all that stuff, right? Like, that was hard enough, but to do that with the social media.
Yeah, we always knew, I think, that it doesn't matter what the bullying is like at school. Once you got home, you could lock yourself in, and that was that. Exactly. You don't have that now. It's all still with you because of social media.
Yes, and it is. I think it's such an powerful, important topic. So just as we're wrapping up here, tell people where they can find you on the internet and how they can get a little bit of Lisa Johnson in their life. How can they find you? Where's your preferred social media platform, and what's your website? And we're going to link everything in the show notes as well for you.
Brilliant. The easiest place to come chat to me, because it's the place where I answer my own DMs, is on Instagram, which is at Lisa Johnson Strategist. Especially if you like real Instagram stories, there's no curation going on over there, so you can just see everything. But yeah, I would also love you to go to bulliesout.com, and there's a membership there to help people that have been bullied for only £5 a year. That will make a massive difference to them.
Oh, amazing. I'm going to go and do that now.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us into the LightWeb podcast, and also on our $1 Million Lab series. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Oh, thank you for having me.